It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily. With positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'm your host, Renee Washington. The show's presented by Fox Sports Radio, where you can check out all the latest on sports, news, entertainment, some incredible, inspiring stories, and meet some fantastic guests. Well, today is no different. Today on Beyond the Headlines, we've got a woman that is trailblazing in so many ways with the products, with the work that she's done, and it all starts with an influence from home. We've got co-owner and CEO of the original Unbraider, and we're going to get a chance to meet and learn more about all the great work that Khadija Imara is doing and how it started with a legacy set by her mom. So we've got an edition of Redefining Us as we get a chance to take a look at a game changer who's breaking the mold and doing something different to help society in a positive way.
Here's our host, Renee Washington, with Redefining Us.
All right, welcome in CEO, co-founder, co-owner of the original Unbraider. Nice to have you here, Khadija. Welcome. How are things going?
It's going so well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Happy to have you here. Happy to learn more about the Unbraider and especially the story of it. I want to just start there with just sharing. Let me backtrack. For those that do not know what the Unbraider is, can you just share a little bit about what the product is?
Absolutely. So I actually have it right here, so some of
Love
you guys
it.
can see it. It's a dual-sided comb that we have designed to take down braids. It's engineered specifically to take down braids, unlike some of our other methods, the pin, fork, rat tail comb. None of these are actual tools designed to take down braids and take down protective styles. And so we've designed one that has a comfortable grip for the moisturizers that you're going to put on your hair. It's not going to slip out. We have a side that's built for bigger braids as well as your cornrows. And then this side on the shorter end is a little denser side, smaller teeth that picks out the smaller braids. And so it's a comb designed to take down braids, but also take down multiple braids at once. So you're getting 4 to 8 braids in and just brushing them out.
Oh, yes. I love that. And for anybody that knows, what I like about this is you're creating something that helps to change the way, especially for Black people specifically, to have a hair product designed for us. And when you talk about the pen, the fork, I've been there. I'm like, what is something skinny I could use to get, especially the tail end, the start of the braid is the worst part. So I love the fact that you've been creating a product that's for us, because that is something that's difficult to find when you're walking to the hair store, when you're going through, trying to find tools and products and everything from sprays and gels to what type of heat and things we're putting in our hair. It needs to be different. We have a different texture. Everybody's hair is different. But what I also love about this is your story starts with your mom. And so when reading about that was just so beautiful to see. And can you share just the influence of how your mom got started with wanting to create the Unbraider?
Absolutely. So my mom has been my hero growing up because I saw her create this. And so I saw her have an idea that we all talked about, and what about this and what about that? And she actually made it come to life, and she brought an idea which we all sit around and think about, like, how could our lives be easier? How could they become convenient? And she did more than speak. And so in the early 2000s, she had the idea, and we all sat around, and she had a sketch, and we were like, what about this? What about that? And we threw it together, and we had the initial drawings drawn up by a draftsman, and we went through the whole process. And so she got it up and going, and this was in 2005. And so around then, the only e-commerce was eBay. And eBay was sketch back then. So it was like, are you going to get your PlayStation? Or are you going to get like a rock or so it wasn't a viable source and way people were going to do their business. And so we started small. We started at the hair shows. We started with going to the malls and renting out the kiosk in the middle of the malls and doing the sales. We had a few girls for the sales reps. And so she really took this and made it from an idea of how can we, as Black people, not look to others to solve our problems because our problems are so unique. And so, although the beauty industry and the hair industry is dominated by products that are beneficial for us, they are not actually designed and created by people like us. And so, the mission and the mission to uplift and educate and empower the community that they're serving is not there, but also some of the education and the thought behind it. And so that's what makes us different, is that it's a tool that was designed by us. So we have braids, we know exactly the struggle, how long it takes, what are the difficulties, what it's like to take down the braids and the matting of the hair, the detangling, the whole process through and through. So it is a company that is for us and by us. And so she created that, and I picked up where she started. And so I ran track, and so it's familiar to have the baton, carried over, and I'm running the next leg.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. So many great things there to unpack. And I want to start with the fact that you guys in the early 2000s working around eBay, which was so sketchy. And I agree. But at that time, e-commerce was not as booming as it is now. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of people that have their own business models and are able to sell through a variety of methods. And so to be able to see your mom firsthand as you talk about just the way that you've been able to look up to her, but also on the business side, how she just showed you through her work. It was 9 months that she worked to collaborate with engineers and figure out how to create the model comb. And for your mom and just seeing the work that she did, Natasha Anderson Imara, which is fantastic that you've been able to carry that baton. How much has that impacted you when you saw where it started? And we're so involved from the beginning in those early conversations with engineers, for example.
So it definitely shaped my process, but it didn't shape my expectation. I did not expect the overwhelming response that we got this time around. And initially, I think it was a little bit ahead of its time because it would the overwhelming response in today's time. But in terms of the logistics and the approach, it absolutely influenced me because she didn't take no for an answer. It was a lot of prototypes, as you mentioned. It was a lot of different testing that you had to go through. It was manufacturers. Again, on the racial side, it's many of the manufacturers and the companies don't do business with some Americans, and so you might have to have a representative. And so the hoops that you go through financially, logistically, socially, those are the things that strengthen you, and you have to persevere, because if you don't end up with a comb. You end up with an idea that was a has-been. And so to push forward, to look at other options, and to always to not take no as an answer was something that was influenced, and I can't thank her enough of that representation that she gave me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, a number of hurdles there that cause a lot of people to get discouraged. You talk about the financial aspect. It's not cheap to get anything off the ground. When you look at a product that you want to launch, a business you want to start, whatever that looks like, there's money that's coming out of your own pocket until you can start profiting off of that actual vision that you have. So the financial hurdle itself causes a lot of people to drop off. Then, as you mentioned, quite frankly, especially in that time, I mean, things are better, but there's still a long way to go. But back in the early 2000s, which is not long ago, but it seems like it when you think about how much we've progressed as a society, even as women of color, and creating a product for minorities, as you alluded to, created some other hurdles you had to jump through of who you can actually work with. So just so many different components there. But the beauty is you didn't take no for an answer. You guys continue to work on it. The official launch, it became public in 2005, where people can now purchase the original Unbraider. And what was that like, seeing all that, work that had been put to taking just an idea, putting it into fruition, and actually now creating something that's you can put out for sale to the public in 2005. I have to imagine that was quite an experience, especially doing it with family.
It was a very, very eye-opening experience. I was a young child, and so I got to go through the whole process. And so we got to go to the manufacturer and see it being developed. And then we got each of the prototypes, and we were at home trying to see if they work. And then maybe this one maybe needs to be a little bit longer. Maybe this is not the right material. And so it was rewarding and exciting to see. And we put in a lot of effort. We had to go to a lot of shows and demonstrate the product and put the boots on the ground. But again, as I was more of a kid and my role was limited, I still was doing the QuickBooks and typing the invoices, doing the printing the orders, going along with her. But then to fast forward now through our relaunch on February 1st, and then to see the progress, not just in the past few years that we've been doing to work back to the relaunch, but looking back on how much work she had to do. And that was a true reflection of like, wow, okay, so some of the steps that I had to repeat for the relaunch, she already had to do. And so it made me just have a larger respect for her, because I had to go through that same paperwork. I had to pay the same fees. I had to pay or do these sort of same things alongside her. And it gave me a much greater respect for the work ethic and the diligence and the perseverance that she had to display and illustrate as she created and brought about the comb.
Yeah. Last thing I want to ask about, looking back before we look ahead a little bit more, is, growing up and seeing how you talked about how influential it was to see your mom firsthand creating this product. But even that representation and creating a product for Black hair, as you mentioned, by us, for us. I love that. Something that is tailored for our community, that you were able to have your hand in, and creating something that's bigger than just even your family. Obviously it starts with your family, but there's so many other families that you're not going to be able to have a positive impact on. And I remember growing up and sitting there, mom's taking your hair out, and you're like just simplifying some of the pains that we have to go through because we don't have access to the same types of products. So in being a part of something created by us, for us, how special is that for you, for your family, for everybody involved with the Unbraider, to create something that's designed specifically for Black families, the Black community?
It is extremely special. It's the core of our mission. It's the root of everything that we do. Growing up, I celebrated Kwanzaa, and so Kwanzaa is all about uplifting, starting with a Black individual, reaching out to the Black family, and through lifting up Black families, we lift up Black communities. And so, like you said, not just being able to touch the people in my immediate family, but to reach other families, and specifically Black families, is something that's always going to be rooted in who I am, but also in the company. And so in Kwanzaa, the third day is Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. And the fourth day is Ujamaa, cooperative economics. And so to tie in those two in everything that we do, and to make sure that we're pulling our resources, not just help us, but to actually make a positive impact. It's not something that's just a product just to consume. It's something that is productive, that's something that's functional, that's something that actually takes time out of your day that you can set aside for better things, to better yourself, to be with your kids. You don't have to like recruit your cousin or your daughter or your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever. They can do their own thing, and now you can actually have something more enjoyable to do. And so reaching that, and then in the future going forward, and being able to open our network to other Black small Black businesses and work with them, that's exciting. That's the best part about it. It's like helping others and reaching others.
Yes, without a doubt. So special to have the opportunity to create something bigger than yourselves, bigger than your family. And as you mentioned, something functional, something that allows you to not only generate revenue, which is a big part of this too, but also creating something that's useful in some way, a product that has a need. Well, I do want to talk more specifically about the new launch. And so we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we'll be getting into the new launch. As you mentioned, February 1st is an exciting time and there's more to come. So we've got to get into that here on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington after this very quick break. All right. Well, we were talking about the start of the Unbraider, the original Unbraider created by your mother, Natasha, and the influence that she had on you growing up. Well, now you've, as you mentioned with the track terms, taken over the baton, and there has been more in just carrying your mother's legacy to the next step. So as you mentioned, February 1st was a special time, and you guys are still in the midst of a new launch. What exactly is involved with this launch? What exactly have you guys been working on with the new launch of the Unbraider?
So we had to basically come back and reintroduce ourselves, and we had to make a connection, and that's what we've been doing for the past few weeks. In just under 3 weeks, we've gotten over 4 million views on our Instagram for just one video. Under a week on TikTok, we got 1 million views as well on that same video. And so we're just demonstrating our product and showing the use of it and the functionality of it, and reintroduce ourselves back into the market and let them know that we're not just here, but we're here to stay. And so that's what's been going on for the past few years and few months in terms of the short term, the few months leading back up and gearing back up.
Yes, yes. Now, a lot has definitely changed since the product officially launched for sale in 2005. What was the need on your end to launch a second phase of the Unbraider?
So we actually took a beat because like we said mentioned before, the financial hurdle stops a lot of people. And so we got through the initial phase, but as a small business, as a family-owned business, it takes a little bit more. And so at the same time, my mother's mom got ill, and so just a lot of external factors led us to not be able to have the business supported the way it needs to be. And so coming back now, I took over and I realized how much we needed. The renaissance of the protective styles and natural hair has come back because a brief moment there was a little bit of time where the braids and natural styles were not uplifted or seen and has had as much visibility as it does now. And so with this renaissance, the urgency to come back with the Unbraider was more stronger than ever. And so we had to come back and make sure that everybody had a better way to take down those protective styles that they just brought back.
Yes, yes. So what has changed with the new model? I know originally it was as a comb taking out 4 to 8 braids at once, definitely focused on minimizing breakage. What's different this time around?
So this time around, we do have some more products coming your way. So we do have the comb out spray. It is a conditioner, a professional grade conditioner that we have put into a liquid form that will go alongside the comb. We do have an update to the comb coming very soon, but that is coming later a little bit. And so right now it's more of a leadership and a reach. And we started very locally and we were boots on the ground. And the biggest difference here is that we have e-commerce, we have the internet, we can reach all of the different regions. And so we've seen that the East Coast, the South, and the Midwest have been a major proponent in our support. And so going to those places in this coming year will be on the list of to-do things because in the past we weren't able to reach as many people. And so now with the new launch, not only do we have more products coming soon, but we have a new strategy and just a new goal in reaching and engaging with our family.
New products, new strategies, new goals. I like it. A lot of new, but as you mentioned, also keeping up with the evolution of time. You know, the way that Black hair specifically has definitely progressed, that it is much more accepted. You see a lot more women and even men, being comfortable wearing their natural hair, being comfortable wearing, whether it's braids, whatever that may look like. It's changing. And even as a society, we've been more accepted in embracing who we are and not feeling like we have to have a specific look. I right now do have that specific look, but either
No,
way,
but
we have
it's
options, whatever you're comfortable with.
it's the option, and it's the versatility, and it's the spontaneity and creativity that is in our culture. And so we can have a weave one day and a wig the next and dreads the next day, and it goes on and on and on. And that's the beauty of the versatility of our hair.
Without a doubt, we need options, and we're allowed to have options just like everybody else. Well, in just having the opportunity to be more involved now with the progression of Black hair changing, the way that Black hair products are now also sold and everything like that, you did touch on how you had to take a step back and come up with a new strategy, come up with a new way. E-commerce has progressed, social media has progressed. So what has that helped you learn about being an entrepreneur, business owner that, especially now as an adult versus the kid working with your mom, that you did not know 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Oh man. So I think in this past few weeks, I have gained so much perspective. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that I don't know anything. And that's a good thing. And the fact that you'll get things that surprise you. You think you know the data or what the data might tell you, and you receive it back. And it's in a good way, it's really different than what you expect. And so I've always heard you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that has been the biggest lesson in this past few weeks of being comfortable and being uncomfortable, because we have reached so many people and we have gotten so much positive feedback. And you have to know where to allot yourself, allot your time management. And it's been an exciting time to learn, because I realized, oh, I have a lot to learn and I love to be a student. And so it's when your baseline is already at great, to reach excellent isn't as difficult and as daunting than when you start with a baseline that is so low. And so to have such a positive response and be able to realize I have so much room to grow, that has been really encouraging. And just learning to be uncomfortable and learning to really not really have any expectations, because you have to look at what's the data presenting and not what your expectations or what your perception might be.
Oof, yes. And as you've mentioned throughout the course of this conversation, you're constantly learning a lot, but it also has forced you to have to take a step back and see the bigger picture. And that's part of being comfortable in those uncomfortable positions and parts, like the different stages you're working through, because you might have an idea of how things are going to go. We're going to drop this great video. We're going to get, a lot of views and likes, and people are going to start talking about it. And then something different happens, or have a plan about how you're going to roll out the new launch, and then something different happens. So being able to pivot, adjust, forces you to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because otherwise you're going to just get stuck in your own mindset and you might be missing out on opportunities. So that is very powerful. Now, as you talked about, there's new products, a lot of exciting things going on. So I'll give you another opportunity to plug where people can check out the products that you have, and also to see all the great things to come for the Unbraider and more that you're doing in the future.
So you guys can check out the website at theunbraiderco.com. And on our Instagram, we post a lot of demonstrations. We go live. So please check us out at _Unbraider, as well as TikTok, _Unbraider. Turn on your notifications, and that way you can get all of our updates as soon as our new products drop.
Yes, and I realized I had the URL wrong that whole time. Theunbraiderco.com. Yes.
Theunbraiderco.com. UNBRAIDER co.com.
Yes.
The Unbraider.
Yes, be sure to check that out, guys, because, as you're doing, Khadija, carrying on the baton that your mom handed to you, continuing to create fantastic products. And I really appreciate you for taking time to join us here to talk about the Unbraider, the influence, and also just as a business woman and a business mind, all that you've been able to learn throughout your experiences growing up in the business. So always great to see it's in the family business. And I want to give you one last chance to share anything else that you'd love our viewers and listeners to take away from this conversation?
I first want to thank you again for having me on here. Before I go, I don't want to forget that. I really appreciate it. But I just want to say to everyone that it is difficult to do something new, but everything is new until it's not. And so we all have been there where you've gone to a new job and that desk feels new. And then there's one day where it just stops feeling new and it feels like home, feels like that's your desk. And so to start the new adventure, to take that leap of faith, it is difficult, but it becomes something that you become accustomed to. And so I encourage people to persevere, to reach that goal that they have, and to set the small goals in order to reach that big goal.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel that personally. When there's changes, when there's new, it should not be seen as a bad thing. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. If your mother, Natasha Anderson Imara, does not do that, we may not have the Unbraider. You know, if you don't have the courage to continue that legacy, we may not have the great products that you're launching the second time around. So with all great things comes that leap of faith and taking that step outside your comfort zone. And I feel that on a personal level. So thank you for sharing so much wisdom, great advice, and just giving us an inside look into your journey as you've been working so hard behind the scenes to create fantastic products by us, for us. So Khadija Imara, thank you so much for joining us here on Beyond the Headlines. Everybody be sure to give a follow again at _Unbraider, and then check out the website, theunbraiderco.com for more. And for us here at Beyond the Headlines, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully you felt motivated. This gave you some food for your soul that was much needed as you continue to venture out to accomplish great things. Have a great one, and we'll see you for more here on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington next time. Bye, guys.
Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.